Hello, my name is Peter Becker. I'm the University and Careers Guidance Counsellor here at the Prince of Wales Island International School in Penang. So the biggest challenge they face is the degree and seriousness that IGCSEs are. Because at Key Stage 3, working through Year 7, 8 and 9, they are quite familiar in the classes. The work is, they have a lot of coursework, they have a lot of classwork and group work, and they don't have as much of a sense that it's all directed towards an exam. They do have internal exams, they do have exams every term, but they don't feel that same pressure. Whereas when they start IGCSEs, the teachers will immediately tell them what the syllabus looks like, what the exam structure is going to be, and they start working through past papers where they get an idea of what that looks like. We don't encourage working on past papers too soon. It's better for them to work through the content first, and then in Year 11 they start going through past papers and getting more work done with that. But they do have an awareness that this is working towards a very strict exam. So that process is very important. And that they would find challenging. Also, the amount of time that every subject requires is a very big difference from what they do in Year 9. So Year 7, 8 and 9, they have specific days where they have specific subjects giving homework. It's all timed out together, they check on one another. Whereas in Year 10, every subject is equally important. They're all working at all of those subjects, and every subject needs to have homework done on a regular basis. So students that haven't mastered time management need to realize time management is important in Year 10. Once they've mastered that in Year 11, they find it a lot easier. If they haven't mastered it, by the time they get to Year 11, they find that a very challenging environment when suddenly the exams are all lined up and they need to prepare for all those exams at a given time. So specifically, the students don't consider completing IGCSEs as an end point. I think a long time ago, O-levels were considered a school leaving certificate, and it was also at the legal age where they were no longer required to attend school. But now the expectation is that they would need to complete school up at least until they're 18 years of age rather than until they're 16. So the expectation is that they need to do something after completing their IGCSEs, but there are a number of different options available. We offer A-levels as the alternative, as the next steps, but there is also the alternative of completing a foundation course. We recommend that only for students that know exactly what direction they're going to follow and what it is that they're going to do. Because a foundation course is not a general study. It is very specific to what you are going to study at university. So it's not just a general foundation course. A lot of students just say, I'm going to do foundation next year. And when I ask them in what area, they're not really sure. And that means they haven't done their research, because a foundation course is a foundation in science or a foundation in engineering or a foundation in business. They're very, very specific courses that they need to follow. And they're good courses, very intense, because they're completing everything within 1 year, but they're very demanding for that. So they need to be aware of the specific nature of those courses. The IB program allows them to complete their IB diploma following the IGCSEs. So there are schools that would do the IGCSE followed by an IB diploma, and so they can do that as well. It is challenging to move from completing the IGCSE system into the way that the IB program is presented, because they have a number of broader subjects crossing all their subjects, plus then very specific subjects that they need to complete. So it is a different style of learning and teaching, but it is something that they can manage as long as they're aware of those challenges that they're going to face. So for students wanting to complete the IGCSE, we would say ideally they should be on a C1 level, but if they were completing on a B2 level, that would also be accessible, so they would find themselves on that level to be able to complete that. And there is support at the school for them to be encouraged to improve their English, especially within the subject context, to be able to access the content and to be more aware of that. Most of our support for students for requiring more English support happens in Key Stage 3 with students in Year 7, 8 and 9. But in Year 10 and 11, we do have English support specifically for academic progress so that they're able to progress as well. We do offer English as a second language as well as English as a first language. So students are able to access the English as a second language course as an alternative if that would be more suited to them. And completing an English as a second language course would be suitable for them to access A-levels after that as well. So they're not going to be limited to not being able to continue with A-levels if they haven't completed English as a first language. For A-levels, the English level needs to be a lot more refined, so we would expect that if students are coming in on a B2 level in Year 10 and they progress, they would improve their English, and by the time they get to accessing A-levels, they would be on a C1 level and they will be able to complete that. It is possible to retake the exam, so they've got 2 sittings every year. The one is in June, where the results come out in August, and then they have another exam session in October, November, and those results are released in the January the following year. So it is possible that if they've not been successful in the May-June exam season, they are able to then resit the exam in October, November. So different universities have different expectations, so depends on the course that they're following. Some courses will be very clear on subjects that are a requirement and the grades that are required for those subjects. Other courses require just the best grades possible, so they'll say they require 3 A's, but they won't be specific about what the subjects need to be for those, mostly because they cover most of the content that is done within the first 6 months of the course at university. So they might not be so demanding on the content. But in other cases where there is a proper foundation required in that subject, they would say that there's a specific need for certain subjects. So there's no compulsory subjects at A level, but there are recommendations based on the courses that they will follow, leading to the question about which subjects are recommended to take from IGCSE level to A level. It is possible to take a subject at A level that has not been done at IGCSE level, but in many cases that would probably be quite challenging. If you haven't completed the basics at IGCSE level, then completing it at A level is going to be more demanding. However, if the reason for not taking it at IGCSE level was maybe because it wasn't offered at the school that they might have been at, or it wasn't a subject they thought was interesting at the time, then their progress and their interest in the subject would make it possible for them to continue and to be able to take the subject at the next level. So it does depend on the course that they're interested in. The best indicator of how well they will do is looking at their previous performance. So looking at the grades that they've done well in at IGCSE level is a good indicator of which subjects they should take at A level, and the good subjects that they enjoy at A level are the subjects that they're probably going to do well at university. For some students that isn't helpful because they do well in all their subjects, which is great for them, but sometimes it makes it difficult for them to make those decisions. So we do a number of other assessments to try and guide their thinking about what their interests are, what their passions are, what it is that they're interested in and what they want to do. Students that find that all the subjects are challenging We then direct them to courses that are going to identify their individual learning style strengths and what it is that they can do in a course that is going to be best for them. Some of them do better because it's a coursework subject. Others do better when it's individual research or project-based work that they need to do. So it allows them to understand the different levels of that. With so many universities available all around the world, there's going to be a university that will have the style and the course that the student will be interested in. So the biggest challenge would be time management and ensuring that students are meeting their targets by completing their work consistently. Parents can support their children by keeping them accountable, simply asking them how their work is progressing and what it is that they're doing. I would say it's helpful to not just ask them how it's going, but to ask them to show them what they're doing. Because especially in the IGCSE course, there's a lot of work that is visible in what they're doing. They would be receiving a lot of feedback from their teachers, and using that feedback, they can then make comments about what they're going to do in the future. So where the teachers are asking students for feedback, it's good for the parents to ask the students for the same feedback and to set targets for themselves and to ask them what it is that they're going to do next. How are they progressing? What do they think they are doing with that? Asking them about their well-being and their anxiety levels. What is it that they're excited about the subjects? What is it that gets them down about the subject? Because it helps them know what are the things that they can change and the things that they can't. There are some things that can't be altered and they just need to continue, but there are some options that help them to really be more on track with what they need to do. Parents might need to give them some guidance on how to manage their time and to be aware of the balance that they need between different activities.